There are so many great Marvel movies nowadays that the bad ones are definitely in the minority. But once, back in the 90s, there was a Marvel movie so bad that it was never officially released in theaters or on home media, and to this day hasn't been released in any official form. This is that story. The story of this unreleased movie begins in 1983 when German film producer Bernd Eichinger spoke to Stan Lee about buying the film rights to the Fantastic Four. The rights were unavailable at the time, but 2 years later in 1985, Eichinger bought the rights for his production company Constantine Film, then named New Constantine Film. Before I continue, allow me to explain how these kinds of contracts work in case you don't know. Usually, the film studio buying the rights to a character won't hold that character's rights hostage forever. Instead, the studio would have X amount of years to get a movie made before the rights naturally reverted back to the original rights holder. Nowadays, potentially because of this movie, the contract says that you have to start filming by X date and release a movie by Y date, though at the time it was just film by X date. There are also other clauses regarding sequels and such, but we don't need to worry about that in this video. So, back to the story. Over the next several years, Eichinger performed pitch after pitch to major studios hoping to get funding and distribution for the movie, and while some companies like Columbia and Warner Brothers had interest, no deal came to pass. Fast forward to 1992. There aren't any studios interested in the Fantastic Four, and the contract says that if they don't start production by December 31st of that year, the rights will revert back to Marvel, and Marvel refuses to give them an extension. So Eichinger teams with famous B-movie director Roger Corman to produce the movie with him, giving the film a $1 million budget and having the film distributed by his company New Horizon Pictures. He hired Ole Sassone, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, to direct the movie, and they started production just under the wire on December 28th. Production was finished by the end of January 1993. That year, trailers for the film were shown in theaters and on the VHS release of Corman's own Carnosaur. The film was initially advertised for a Labor Day weekend 1993 release, but was eventually pushed back to January 19th, 1994 at the Mall of America. The cast went on a press tour and even sunk some of their own money into hiring a publicist to promote the film, presumably believing that this would be their big break. But then, suddenly, the premiere screening was cancelled last minute and the cast were actually sent cease and desists warning them to not advertise the film anymore. Why was a mystery at the time. The film went unreleased. It wasn't released theatrically, it wasn't aired as a TV movie, it wasn't released on VHS. To this day, the film has never had an official release and survives only through bootleg copies that circled conventions in the 90s and 2000s and have since been put up on the internet. So, what happened? Well, for a long time, the rumor was that the film was never meant to be released at all. That Eichinger produced a low-budget Fantastic Four movie with the intention of not releasing it just so that he and his company could keep the film rights for the Fantastic Four and make a bigger movie down the line. That he exploited the fact that his contract with Marvel never said that he had to release the movie, and that's why the newer contracts do. It's a very tantalizing, dramatic, and overall pretty satisfying answer, but is it the truth? Well, probably not. Did Eichinger know that he was making a B-movie? Sure. And was much of the reason why the movie was made just so that he could keep the rights to the Fantastic Four? Yeah. But he always intended to release it. It was actually Marvel that didn't want it released. More specifically, it was now infamous Marvel executive Avi Arad. Apparently, he caught wind of the movie in presumably late 1993 and thought having a B-movie of the Fantastic Four would cheapen the brand, including the comics, the animated series that was to premiere the following year, and potentially future films. So he called up New Constantine Films and bought the movie off of them for a few $1 million. He then ordered all prints destroyed to prevent its release, making it surprising that we even have the bootleg copies that we do. Since then, Marvel and Constantine have completely ignored this movie's existence. Let me tell you something. The way that you know for sure that a film studio has completely disowned something is that it's been uploaded to YouTube in full for years and hasn't been taken down. That basically says, yeah, we're embarrassed by this movie, so we're not gonna claim ownership of it by copyright claiming it. And that, my friends, is the story of the lost-ish Marvel movie. I hope you liked the video. If you did, consider subscribing. Most of my audience isn't subscribed. Bye.